The Bag Neighbor. In the calm streets of Peace Estate, somewhere in the outskirts of Lagos, people minded their business. It was the kind of community where everyone greeted with smiles, but secretly judged with their eyes. The houses stood close enough for gossip to travel faster than light. And in that estate, there lived Joyce Anderson, the woman everybody called the Bag Neighbor. Joyce was in her late 30s, beautiful in a tired kind of way. Her face carried the remnants of what used to be a fine woman: high cheekbones, soft eyes, and skin that hinted she once lived well. But now, she lived from hand to mouth. Her husband, Tony, had abandoned her 3 years ago after losing his job and getting entangled with another woman in Port Harcourt. Since then, Joyce had been struggling to raise her 2 children, David and Blessing, in a single-room apartment that looked as worn out as her hopes. The people in Peace Estate had helped Joyce when she first moved in. Everyone had sympathy for a woman abandoned by her husband. Mama Kemi gave her some old clothes. Mr. Bello from the next street offered to fix her faulty window for free. And Mrs. Florence, who lived opposite her, gave her food items every now and then. But after a few months, sympathy began to fade, replaced by irritation. Joyce was always asking, "Please, can you help me with small rice?" "Abeg, if you have small salt, I'll return it when I buy mine." "Can I use your gas? Mine just finished and my daughter is hungry." At first, people pitied her, but it didn't stop there. She would borrow and never return. She would promise and never fulfill. One time, she borrowed 2,000 naira from Mrs. Florence to buy textbooks for her son and swore to pay back after 2 weeks. 2 months passed, then 3, and the story changed from, "I'll pay next week," to, "You know things are hard." Soon her name became a joke. "Don't let that beg woman see you, oh," neighbors would whisper. Children mocked her kids, shouting, "Your mama, they beg rice again." But Joyce didn't care much about what people said. She had mastered the art of emotional manipulation. When people refused her requests, she would shed tears and bring up her children's suffering until guilt forced them to help. Then came Angela White, a young woman who moved into the flat next to Joyce's. Angela was a hard-working fashion designer who had just opened a small tailoring shop nearby. She was friendly, neat, and soft-spoken. The day she moved in, Joyce was the first to visit. "My sister, welcome, oh. You are now my new neighbor," she said with an exaggerated smile. "If you need anything, don't hesitate to call me. I'm always around." Angela smiled politely. "Thank you so much." That same evening, Joyce knocked again. "Ah, Sister Angela, please don't be angry, oh. My gas finished and my children haven't eaten since morning. Can I quickly boil small rice in your kitchen?" Angela hesitated, but her kind heart didn't allow her to say no. She agreed. That day turned into another, and soon Joyce was in Angela's kitchen more than her own. Sometimes she would come with stories that broke Angela's heart. How David was sent home for school fees, how Blessing was sick, how she hadn't eaten since morning. Angela started helping regularly. Food, small cash, sometimes even clothes. But soon she began to notice things. Whenever she helped Joyce, she'd see her later buying cold drinks or chatting loudly at the provision store, laughing with her friends. Sometimes she would borrow things she clearly didn't need. Once she begged Angela for 5,000 naira to buy her daughter's medicine. The next day, Angela saw her wearing a new wig. When Angela confronted her gently, Joyce became defensive. "So you're now counting what you give me, Abby? Don't worry, God is watching all of us." From that day, Angela withdrew her help gradually. She started locking her door more often, pretending to be asleep whenever she heard Joyce's knock. But Joyce was relentless. She would knock early in the morning. "Please, do you have small pepper? I want to cook." Or late at night. "My phone off. A bag, help me with charger." Sometimes she'd just enter uninvited to greet. Rumors started spreading again. People whispered that Joyce was taking advantage of Angela's kindness. Some even said she had started selling some of the items she begged for. Then came the turning point. One Friday night, around 9 p.m., Angela heard a knock. She ignored it. The knock continued. "Please, Sister Angela, open. It's emergency." Angela sighed, tired, and opened the door. Joyce stood there, crying. "My son David is dying. Please, I need 10,000 naira to take him to the hospital." Angela's heart pounded. Without thinking much, she rushed inside, picked 8,000 naira from her savings, and handed it to her. Go quickly." The next morning, she went to check on them, but their door was locked. Evening came, still locked. Angela began to panic. She asked the landlord if he'd seen Joyce or the children. He hadn't. 2 days later, news broke that Joyce had been seen in another part of town, buying clothes at a market, laughing. There was no sick child, no hospital. It was all a lie. Angela felt used and humiliated. She swore never to trust her again. The other neighbors finally turned their backs completely. Months passed. Joyce became isolated. No one greeted her anymore. When she walked past, people hissed. Even the small traders refused to sell on credit. Her manipulation had caught up with her. Then one rainy evening, Joyce collapsed by the roadside while trying to sell her last possession, a small blender she had begged from someone. The same neighbors who once despised her gathered around. She was rushed to the hospital, malnourished and weak. Angela, despite everything, went to visit her. Joyce lay on the hospital bed, her eyes dull. She looked at Angela and tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't know what came over me," she whispered. "I was just desperate. I thought begging was my only way to survive. I didn't mean to hurt you." Angela sighed deeply. "You didn't just hurt me, Joyce. You hurt yourself. You made everyone stop believing you." Joyce nodded weakly. "I know, but it's too late now." She survived that illness, but something changed in her. She stopped begging. She began washing clothes for people in the state, earning a little from it. It wasn't much, but it was honest. Gradually, people started greeting her again. One day, Angela saw her walking David to school with a smile. She looked tired, but peaceful. Angela walked over and greeted her warmly. Joyce smiled, her voice soft and humble. "No more begging, sister. I've learned my lesson." Angela nodded. "I'm proud of you, Joyce." And from that day, the beg neighbor became Joyce the washerwoman, a woman who chose the once lost in desperation and deceit, found a way to live again through dignity and humility. Moral: sympathy without boundaries invites manipulation, and desperation without dignity can make one lose respect, even for oneself. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and follow me for more stories. Bye for now.